Hi, good afternoon everyone. Welcome back to the session. We are from Code Reboot Academy. Now we are going to see our module 3 ICT. It is the session 2. Let's start our session. So here we are going to see the ICT, that is information communication technology, what we are using nowadays in the classrooms called LMS. So e-learning, Google Meet, and everything, whatever the technology which is implemented with the computer technology is called as ICT enabled classrooms. So now we are using everything in a computerized way, even the attendance, report cards, classes, everything has been digitalized. So now we are going to see some abbreviations. So I'm never going to explain you all the abbreviations. I'll just tell you something, only few from it. You just have a glance. I've given you the abbreviation for protocols and bytes, kilobytes, megabytes. It's a memory capacity level. And I have given you the technical terms which we are using in the computer industry and ICT industries as in the digital world. And I have given you the extension file extensions for audio, video, and I also given you the uh, hard disk and hard disk parts and the memory board parts are minute parts in the system. I have given you the file formats and extension for Word, and we are also given you the extensions of some architectures, some scripting languages, and the drive extensions also. Here we have the extensions of protocols. As I said earlier, the protocols is a set of rules for performing some of the operations. It will initiate us to do or will form some functions which were initiated by us. So this is the terminologies, and I have given you the LAN, WAN connection abbreviations and the protocols sections and the wireless network areas, everything else. You just have a glance, you will definitely have a one more from these abbreviations. We are getting an at least one question in the previous years also. So now we are moving for the memory levels, that is from kilobytes to yottabytes. So you may have a question. You already got a question in your previous year examination in the ascending order as well as in the descending order of memory levels. So before kilobytes we have bytes, bits and nips. So you should be clear while ordering your memory levels. So I have given you the memory level: kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes, betabytes, exabytes, zettabytes and yottabytes. So next, we are going to see the basics of internet. What is internet, intranet, email, audio and video conferencing. So basically what is an internet? So everything is internet. Internet world. Yeah. We can able to communicate with anyone, anytime, anywhere with the use of internet. So internet as a centralized server, it may be located in anywhere in the country, or it may be located in some other area within the country. So it automatically saves your data. So the browser or the search engine, whatever data you're used to search, it will retrieve you the data within a microseconds. How it happens? So the internet automatically saves all the data in the server. Once you are searching a data, it will matches the data and provide you the data. So internet is basically a connection of networks within the entire universe. So next, we are going for the networking. So networking, as I said earlier, it is the interconnection of computer through modem, fiber optic cables, or through the hardware or wireless resources. So computer network is basically interconnections of autonomous systems. So we are using a modem or wireless connectivity or Wi-Fi system to connect our devices. So next, we have basically five components in the network, that is sender, who sends the data or a message to the receiver. He sends the data. The data will be stored in the sender modem, and the data will transfer to the communication channel, that is the fiber optic cables or the server or the data storage media, and then it is transferred to the receiver modem, and after finally everything has been corrected and encrypted, the receiver receives the data. So here we have three types of networks, that is LAN, MAN and WAN. So LAN is called as a local area network, which is a connection between the systems within an organization. This connection is basically within an organization to protect or secure the data of an organization or the database, which should not be get out of the organization for the security purpose of an institution or an organization, which is around at 10 kilometers. So MAN as a metropolitan area network, which is around 15 kilometers, and WAN as a wide area network, which is a huge around the world. There is no limit for WAN. So next I have given you some type of uh, connections and the technologies and protocols and the softwares and devices what we are using to connect, and what is the topology we are using. So topology is basically the method or the way we connect the interconnecting the systems. So it may be in a circular format or a bus format, or it may be a ring format or a tree format. It may vary connecting to the server. So next is intranet. As I said earlier, intranet is basically within a local area or organization. It is very expensive, but it is a very secure form of networking. So it is made easier to communicate or send data to make the database with organizable and accessible within an organization. There is a time saving process. There is no need of hard copies. They can transfer the data from anywhere to anywhere within an organization for a quick reference and time saving process. So we have get an immediate updates from anywhere within an organization. So next, internet. As I said earlier, internet is basically interconnection of our systems or network. It is through protocols TCP IP. So transmission control protocol as an internet control protocols. These protocols will transfer the data from sender to the receivers. So internet, we are now using internet for multiple of purposes. Everything has been digitalized today. Even the applying of a application or transferring of money, a banking process or educational process, or your shopping, everything has been characterized into digitalization forms. So next is the web browser. The browser we are using regularly for browsing or searching a data. So we have a lot of web browsers. The most familiar one is Chrome and Firefox. Then we are using some browser for our execution purpose of data like HTML. So we have a lot of browsers, uh, Explorer, Opera Mini, and then we have a Firefox, Chrome, and lots. So while using our browser, we should be clear whether our browser is safe. So maximum of the browsers will automatically hack your data. So we should be clear while using our browsers. We should not use all the browsers. We should know whether it is protected or secure or not. Next, website. So website is basically a collection of web pages or HTML pages. So web pages or website may contain a URL address. It is a uniform research locator, and we have a DNS as a domain name system and SSL. So secure socket layer. So our main domain name should be in the several format. The main root domain name can be .org, .edu, .net, .government or .commerce. So .org is a general, and .edu is an educational website, and .org is a non-profitable organization. .government is a government website, and .com is a commercial website. So under this banner, we have a www World Wide Web blog form or anything else according to our will and wish. So first, while writing a URL address, we will have our transfer protocol and then a domain name. So domain name is the name what we are given for our website, and the ending domain name is the root domain name, and the directory where the file is stored, and the subdirectories, and the file name what we are going to find. So electronic mail, as I said earlier, the email uh, is generally invented by John Van Neumann. So in 1971 is the first mail sent, and as everyone knows that email has an inbox, outbox, entitled draft, spam, everything. So most of us has a doubt in CC and BCC. So CC is a carbon copy where the receiver knows who the other person has seen the data or received the mail. BCC is a blind carbon copy. The receiver does not know where the other person has seen or not. So it's a secret form of sending a data. So next is the common email abbreviations. We have a lot of common email abbreviations. We may get a 1 mark in one question or from your examination. So it is maybe you can say that QL or triple Z is for sleep, bored and tired. It is a short form of words what we are using in the email world. So here we have the Hotmail. It is a free email and it was established in 1995. So we should know the year and the basic things for our 1 marks. So you may not know these questions will definitely trigger in your examination. So that's why I have taken every questions according to the examination point of view, and I have given you the notes and explanation according to your examination questions. So next we have the protocols. We definitely have a one protocol from this type. We have an abbreviation from the protocols. So it is TCP/IP, UDP, Internet Protocol, and BOPS, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, File Transfer Protocol. We have lots of protocol for transferring and receiving of data in a secure form and manners. So next we are going for the video on mobile conference or what you called as a meeting. So everything is made into online. We have a live streaming videos, we have a Facebook live streaming, we have a WhatsApp via conferencing. We have lots of apps and software to make it easier for us to communicate with anyone anywhere else in the world through viewing them through online and network medias. So you may have a question that which of the thing is not a video conferencing software or an app, or you may have a question that which one is a conferencing app. So that's why I've given you a list of apps for your clearance. So next, ICT. So the government is by the people, for the people, and of the people. So when it is enabled with the technology, the government can able to easily reduce the cost of people as well as the government. Everything has been accessed within a fraction of time. There is a time saving process. Everything has been systemized. There is no data corruption. There is no corruption in processing of data, and there is a transparency between the work done by the government. There can be a benefit and there is a greater convenience for the people to get immediate informations and COs from the government. It is a cost reducing process and there is a clean and clear interaction between the government and the people. So here we have the scope of e-governance in the four format. The first one is government to the citizen to the government, and government to the government, and government to the business. So government to the citizen is the applying of a bank, applying for a citizenship or birth or death certificates or transportation problems, applying of e-tickets. Then we are applying our health, PF loans and everything, educational loan, e-taxes, everything has been government to the citizen portal. And citizen to the government is in case of any problems or issues, we wanted to file a case or we want to have a feedback regarding our order or a policy, we can able to send our opinion to the government. We can support the government in providing our feedbacks. So government to government is basically a portal which is to get access within the state or within the district or between our country to the states. So next is the government to the business. For applying a tender of the government has issued a tender for construction work or a building work, we can able to get the order by applying tender through the e-government portals. So next, so benefits of online education. There are lots and lots of education benefits through online education. You can learn anywhere, anytime, anyone can learn through online education. So it is basically a center of students. So it is focused on students improvisation, students benefits students' achievements. So it is a student-centric process. So it has a flexibility and time convenience. We can learn at for 10 minutes and we can wait for 10 minutes and you can again learn it. There is a flexibility for us to learn according to our timing convenience. There is an accessibility. We can learn from anywhere, any portals. So we can able to get not only the knowledges from the local country or a state, we can able to get throughout the nation on throughout the universe. So it is basically a time saving process. We can able to get a idea or a knowledge from the people from where from a expertised persons throughout the world. So it can provide a chance for us to interact with the high official and highly professionalized persons. So it is costly, but it can able to make us to get knowledge. It is a better opportunity to learn the different people's different languages from different areas. So next, there are 16 digital learning process Swayam. So it is online courses which is free of cost, which is integrated or organized by the MHRD, and it is honored by our president. So Swayam Prabha is a 24 into 7 educational channel which has a 32 channel on 4 sector basis. So NDL is a visual depository for learning. It is a visual library. You can able to access any number of books, any number of books from the library with a free of cost. So spoken tutorial is a continuous video and audio tutorial based on the syllabus and the subjects for the students. So virtual lab is basically based on the augmented reality technology. You can visualize the things which is not able to visualize really. So and E-Entra is for the engineering students, Swach Ganga and Swach Gangodari, and Swach Sindhu is an electronic journals and electronic research papers for the PhD and MPhil scholars or the research fellow papers. So Vidwan is a database or for the national, it is a database which contain all the research work that is published by these researchers and scholars. So Talk to a Teacher is developed by IIT Bombay and it provides the access for the people who needs in a selected basis from UG and PG categories. So campus connectivity is to have a connectivity between the students and everyone has to have a Wi-Fi campus. It is a 1 Gbps connectivity process in the universities. So National Academic Depository is a digital locker for your academic certificates provided by the university and colleges. So eKalpa is creating a digital learning environment. If you wanted to create a digital learning environment for your courses or anything, you can able to create it from Kalpa. So ePadasala is a showcase for all the educational resources and you can able to get your textbooks, papers, journals, then your exercises, assignment, everything from ePadasala. So ePatha is a digital form of ebook. You can able to get a ebook through its portal on anywhere from any author. So Sagmaya Pushka is the online library. You can have an access on books from various traditional and cultural value books and the research oriented books. Diksha is a state of art platform for creating your online courses or online research or online subject oriented projects. Shosharans is the tool for a self-reviewing and analyzing of CBSE oriented syllabus for the parents and the students. So next module is the people development and environment. So here we are going to see how the people has affected the environment and what is the cause of the effects in the environment. So first this is development environment. We have our environmental and development goals for the development of our country. It is not only by our country, it is mainly an organization which is UNO as a overall of 179 countries as a part of it. So here the sustainable development is basically based on three aspects: social, environment and economic. The social development is there should be a adequate job for the people, there should be a non-religious relationship between the people, there should be an equal justice to everyone, there should be a partnership and collaboration with various organizations and institutions. So economic is an indirect economic impact. So when there is a job, the country will automatically gets a tax from the people, and they can able to utilize for its development of the country. It automatically increases the financial health of the country. The policy goals, the country should have a policy goal for each and every aspect of development. It should have a l- less poverty or a poverty free country. It should have a adequate market for its import and export of products. So environment, so whatever the development has made to the country, it should not affect the soil, air, pollution of the environment. It should not affect both the living and non-living organism. There should not be a bio waste or any wastes which should affect the um, living organisms which consumes it. The country and health of the people should be clean and clear. So next, we have a 8 Millennium Development Goals. As I said earlier, there should not be a poverty and hunger in the country. Everyone should have their primary education. Every child should have their education. It's a right of the child. There should not be any inequalities between the male and the female or transgender. Every gender should be treated equally. There should not be any child mortality. So, girl child should be killed, or no girl child should get married out with the persons or a people. So there should be a healthy healthy women in the pregnancy period. There should not be a diseases or other malaria virus should have been affected the maximum of the people. There should be a free of HIV and other harmful diseases. The government should have ensured the environmental development also. There should not be any pollution through air, water, noise, soil, or through land. There should be a global partnership and development in the country through various collaboration and MOUs with the other country peoples and companies. So next, we have these 17 sustainable goals. As I said earlier, that are the 8 main goals, and how the 17 sustainable goals as everyone should have a quality education. There should be a climate action for each of the problem, or like a tsunami or anything else. There should be a immediate remedy, and there should be a recovery from the government through climate climatic actions. There should be a industrial growth. There should have a clean water and sanitation for the people. There should not be any poverty, and there should be a collaboration and participation of the peoples in all the government problems and issues. There should be a reduced qualities. The place and judgment should be equal. There should not be any one suffer from angry. There should be a partnership goals. So the life on the land should be clean, so the marine animals should not be get affected. There should be a sustainable growth in each and every person economic life, and all the aspects. So all the aspects whatever needed to the development for the welfare of the people, other organisms and country will comes under the 17 sustainable development goals. So you may have a question from this. So what are the things which is not included in the sustainable development goals? Or you may have a question that whether these goals are added in the sustainable goals or not. We have already had a question from this particular concept for the last 2 years. So you just be clear with the 8 millennium goals and the 17 sustainable development goals while you are preparing for the 1 mark. So I have given you the content and everything based on your 1 marks. So next we have 5 P's. So first thing is people, prosperity, peace, partnership and planet. So it is very simple that it should develop the people's poverty and hunger. People should be peaceful and equal. So prosperity is it should ensure the nature's health and environmental health and government health. So peace, there should not be a fight oriented to religious caste or anything else. There should be a particular partnership or collaboration and MBO with the adequate and elaborate companies. So the planet and the entire universe should not be affected by any pollutions or through natural calamities or disasters. So next, human environment and interaction, orthoponic, also anthropologic impact is just a human impact, what human has did to the society. So here we have the environment. So environment is basically a physical surrounding characteristics maybe from land, water, or from sea or atmosphere. It is categorized into two types, biotic and abiotic. So biotic is a living organism and abiotic as non-living organisms. So we have the environmental sections on segment, that is biosphere, atmosphere, lithosphere, hydrosphere. So we have four categories. So biosphere is where the human beings and other organisms can able to live or survive. Atmosphere is a thin gaseous layer which is above us or around us. So lithosphere is basically the crust, land or rock or sand forms. So hydrosphere is the water and water oriented areas. So next, ecosystem is basically based on the everyone. It is from a uniscell to the six sense organs organisms. So everyone is dependent on each other. So the biosphere is where, as I said earlier, it is the place for plant, animals, and bioorganisms. Atmosphere is for air, oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, hydrogen. So hydrosphere is river, lake. Lithosphere, as I said earlier, I have given you a table for your reference and quick view. So next, so what are the effect that is affecting the people? What are the things that people has made for the pollution of the country or the environment? They affected the agriculture, they affected the revolution, they affected the atmosphere, they affected the urban development, and everything has been affected. I have given you a list. So impact, what are the impact they are given? The usage of AC, petrol, vehicles, everything has affected a lot of things. So here I have given you some examples that acid rain is a cause of our carelessness and usage of gases. So deforestation, so ozone layer, global warming, and climatic changes, pollution, and soils, everything is basically based on our impact on the environment. So here is a deforestation. Because of deforestation, large agricultural lands has been demolished. So the cattle does not get a food for their regular life. So the small agriculture areas has been stopped and it has been destroyed because of construction of plots. Agriculture areas has been destroyed for building of houses, and lots of our, as the population grows, we started to move to the agriculture and the forest area to occupy our spaces. This is because our population increases has also made a lot of damages for the animals also. Most of the animals who lives in the forest has come out to the cities because of our extension towards the forest. So next is the global warming. Because of the usage of electrical equipments and our vehicles, AC, everything has polluted our entire universe and it has formed a greenhouse effect. So this automatically makes the sun to get warmer, and the protective layers, that is ozone layer and atmosphere, get affected, and because of those things we are directly getting infrared radiation from the sun and earth. So here are the gases which is basically causing the greenhouse is carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, uh, ferrochloric, fluorocarbon, hydrofluoric chlorocarbon, everything is the basic cause for the greenhouse warming. So ozone layer destruction. So here I said earlier the ozone layer gets automatically damaged because of our uses. So these gases automatically causes the ozone layer to get affected, and because of this damage will get affected by burning of skin, burning of a, so automatically the heat or warming gets higher in the environment and the nature. So automatically burning of trees in the forest. So because of this ozone layer defect, most of them are getting affected for because of skin problems. So next, here is the acid rain. So acid rain is caused by SO2, NO2 and CO2. So as I said earlier, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, carbon dioxide, which causes the acid rain. When these gases goes into the air and combine with the water droplets, it form a acid rain. This will destroy the plants, marine organisms, and plant germination. It also affect the soil quality also. So next is fossil. So because of fuel, as I said earlier, every animals, every plant, every human beings, after death they automatically form a fertilizer for the soil. So once this fertilizers get days for hundreds of years it is in the ground, it form natural gases and natural fuels. So when these fuels get directed through, and it may get affected, or if there is a non-adequate decomposition, it never form a process that. If you are destroying a particular organism, particular insect which affect entire environment also. So next we have the risk. What are the risk? Once we get a climatic disorder, there is a decrease in the economy, there is a loss of peoples, we may lose in the condition of food and anger, there cannot be any oxygen, so there is a fire, then there will be a death rate increasing, and we get a lot of droughts also. So next, Environmental Protection Act. So what are the Environmental Protection Acts? So it is our Act of 1986 is a combination, or what we called it as umbrella legislation. So this act is a combination of Act for hazardous waste rules, biomedical waste rules, municipal solid wastes, noise, ozone, battery waste, plastic waste, and electronic waste. Every wastes are included in our rules 1986. So here are the 8 main missions. So there should be a solar mission, so that we have to reduce the usage of electricity, and uh, we have to produce or increase the amount of solar missions. So we have to enhance the efficiency of energy through various project through wastages of animal dung or through windmills. So there should be a sustainable habits. So everyone should be clean and clear. They should not affect the environment. So water mission is basically we should not harm the organisms, or we should not spoil the water through industrial wastes. So green India is basically we should not destroy the ozone layer, or we should not make harm to the green gases through green gases. So next is Himalayan ecosystem. We should have protect the Himalayas, more precious species and Ayurvedic species without affecting them, and we have to preserve them for the medical values. So we should not make the climate to change because of our unusual habits and unusual behaviors. So there should be a sustainable agriculture area. We should not make the agriculture area to industrial areas. So next, the ongoing initiative is power generation. We are generating power through various medium, through cow dung, through windmills and every process. The renewable energy is we are getting energy or a product. We are making a paper or anything else into a consumed product or renewal product. The waste materials has been renewed and make it as a new products. So we should have an energy efficiency. We should provide an energy, and we have to gain the energy through various energy resources, or through hydroelectric energy or solar energy, and whatever else we have to make the energy efficiently. We should not waste it. So here are some achievements that we have obtained. Here are the protocols. I have given you some of the protocols. This may be in your 1 mark. You should learn, you should know the year and what is the amendment passed on this years. So just have a glance. I have given you year wise. So we should know what is the amendment passed and what is the year. This is your 1 mark. So please have a glance on everything. So next, natural hazards and disorders. As I said earlier, there is a two types. Human has made in two types. One is environmental and the technological. So environmental is, as I said earlier, deforestation, uncontrolled towns, planning, drying lakes. So we are constructing houses in the lakes, and there is no sufficient space for the water to be stored. Once it is rained, we have no space for storing the waters. So then technological is through explosion, through bomb blast, through Nagasaki. So these kind of chemical exposures and through industrial wastes, these will affect the environment also. So biological, as I said earlier, through diseases, through animals, as the example of corona, and then geophysical is through earthquake, tsunami. So hydrological is through flood and massive wet area problems. So meteorological is a storm. Climatical is drought, wildlife, wildlife moving to our areas, and extreme temperature because of usage of motor vehicles and AC and electronic items. So next is a meditation. So as I said earlier, it is a approach for recovering the process. So here we have structural approach and non-structural approach. So structural approach is engineer structure. Once there is an earthquake, you automatically make a construction with the help of an engineers. So non-engineer structure is with the help of masons. In the structural approach, we have proper plan on how to construct a building and what are the requirements for the building. When the non-structural plan, we don't have a static plan, we'll construct according to the flow. So non-structural approaches is legal framework once. For example, if you are getting a corona or if you are going to get affected by a flood, they have a legal frame, so we have to protect the country, and they'll announce early and they'll make a arrangement for it. So initiative, the government or the peoples will they will aware the people, and they'll tell this is the impact. You have to be clear and you have to be aware of it, and you should move according to the instruction followed by the government. And if there is a pandemic condition like diseases or flood, there should be a proper insurance to recover from the problems. The people has to be trained and educated what they have to do and what are the process has to be carried out before and after the pandemic conditions. So there should be an institution building. So we have to get the help from the NGOs and other peoples for the helping in the pandemic condition. So warning system as we before flood or the pandemic condition, we should have if it rains, the government automatically tells that there is a flow of rain, you have to be aware. So this should be followed each and every time. So we have two resources, that is natural and man-made. So man-made resources are basically emissions, vehicles and roads. Natural resources are air, water and petroleum. So there are two types, that is inaccessible and accessible. So it is basically inaccessible is solar energy, air, wind, which can be able to get be able to get be produced. So here we have renewable and non-renewable. So renewable are land, water, living organism which can be renewed, and non-renewable are coal, mineral and petroleum. You may have a question in that, what are the non-renewable resources? Coal, mineral and petrol are non-renewable resources. We already got a 1 mark in this question. So as I said earlier, the conventional resources and non-conventional sources. So conventional sources are coal, petroleum, natural gases which automatically naturally provided to us. Solar energy, wind energy, biogas energy, tidal energy, or what the energies we are providing artificially through the various mechanisms. So here are the non-conventional energies, that is solar, wind, hydroelectricity and biofuel. So these are the some energies what we are providing it and are producing it artificially. So here are the conventional energy, oil, crude oil, which is got to us through the decomposition of various organic and organic or species. So next, impact of pollutant on human health. So the air pollution has made a lot of uh, problems to the human health. It automatically burning of stove. These are the causes of air pollutant. So burning of stoves, vehicles, or industrial pollutions, emission of chimney, everything causes. So there is a percentage of gases in the air, that is 78 percentage of nitrogen, and oxygen is 21 percentage, argon is 0.93 percentage, and carbon dioxide is 0.04 percentage. We should know the value and level of the percentage. You may have a 1 mark in these percentage levels. So next, so once it is emitted, we'll get affected by these processes. So once the air pollutant occurs, we may get a photo oxidation zone, acid rains. There is a change in the climatic changes. It will affect the growth of a human as well as in the animals. So next, here is I have given you some examples of health issues which is caused because of the air pollutions. So it will affect your brain, heart, lungs, blood and reproduction as well as. So next, water pollution is basically based on two things, that is point resources and non-point resources. So point resources, we know only through these um, only because of these resources we are getting affected, and non-point resources we doesn't know where it comes and how it affects the water. So next, so water pollutant may be organic pollutant or a microorganisms or nutrients or sustained solid or inorganic pollutant, thermal pollutants or radioactive pollutant. These may causes damage your teeth, your health organisms, or it may causes malaria also. So noise pollution, the government has given a decibel. So dB is decibel. It has a value. You have to use only 70 to 80. There is an act, and it is like the, if you are using a noise in a high value as mentioned by the government, if it is your value of using dB is higher than the value quoted by the government, you have to be get punished according to the acts and rules. So here is the noise pollution um, causing objects. So here is the problems what we are getting through noise pollution. It may lead to blood pressure, stressed out, and automatically our health get affected because of this noise pollution. So next, soil pollution. Soil pollution is basically because of flood, flash, rain, and this pollution may lead to soil erosion. The valuable portion of the mineral or the content will get flowed out in the flood or storming of wind. The seeds or the germination pollutant get washed out. So next, the soil pollution affect the human health also. We can't able to cultivate agriculture in a proper time and proper schedule. So that it may also affect the wild animals and peoples without the food, and it may lead to hunger or poverty. So next, the causes of land pollutions are basically from the industries, deforestation, agriculture activities, and over exploitation of energy and resources and electric signals. So next, environmental issues, pollution and wastages. Here we have categorized the disorders and effect of the environment on the basis of four categories, that is five categories, that is local, state or regional level, national level, world level and global level. So national level, it may be a form of industry wastage or recycling process. When it goes for the state level, it may be the cause of licensing or a waste material. So the problem may be changing according to the level, and the seriousness of the problem is wider according to its spreading. As I said earlier, the pandemic conditions like corona will affect not only the local, state, national, or world. It entirely affect the global level of the peoples. So it is a globalized level problem. So next, so radioactivity. So these radioactivities will automatically get affected not only the human, it also affect the plants, so animals and everything. So next, waste. So we have our five types of waste, that is organic waste, hazardous waste, solid waste, liquid waste and recyclable. So here we have the classification of wastes, that is from urban areas and from industries and from biomedical, and other thing is e-waste. So solid waste is from municipal area or from the construction demonstration. So the once you are getting constructed, you get demonstrates or destroy the building, you'll get a wastages called sand, mud and everything has been disposed in an area that will cause us a pollution. So liquid waste is used is because of the sewages and the drainages and the water outlets of our houses. So hazardous waste and non-hazardous waste. The hazardous waste is from the houses, the waste what we are dealing through letting out. So here we have the solid waste. So by our, so what are the wastes and where we are getting? We have a domestic wastes, commercial wastes and industrial wastes. The domestic wastes is a bulk waste. We have a huge waste which is from the daily outlet, waste outlet from the homes. Commercial waste is from industry, hotel industries and from companies. And industrial waste is from the production companies. So construction wastes and special wastes. So next is the liquid waste, which is in the form of in polluted water or household wastages through drainages and industrial wastages. Polluted water body is basically the waste things which what we throw into the river or oceans. to pollute the land. So biomedical waste is 80% of the waste is not harmful and the 20% is severely harmful to the human life. So here I have given you some categories and types of wastes, what is harmful in the biological wastes. So next, hazardous waste, it's unknown waste from their houses. It may be through manufacturing or an agriculture process or through dry cleaners or by household cleaning or batteries. Whatever we are throw out of the house is led to the hazardous waste and it has to be reduced to save our environment. So next, here we have the e-wastes, the wastes which is from the electronic equipment industries. So it may be a battery, a plastic, it may affect the life of the organisms and animals and will automatically destroy the wealth of the soil. So here I have given you the laws which is provided or amendmented against these wastes and the act which is provided. If you are started to disfollow your act, you automatically get arrested and punished and you may have the penalty for non obeying the laws. So I have given you the list of law, you just have a glance, you may have a one more from these laws. They may give you the year or they may give you the act, you have to mention the year. So we are just giving out the act, you just go through it. You may have a question from these type of years and acts. So next, higher education. So institution and the higher education. In the ancient periods, as I said earlier, our higher education from the ancient India is basically based on six things. But first one is it has to provide the knowledge and it has to develop the religious and cultural values. It should make a person perfectly in the behavior and the personality. It should provide a person who is socially responsible in all the values and he should be a responsible person in the society. He should have a self-control and his character should be he should be a anger-free, angry-free, behavioral person, disciplined person. There should be a purity in Anma as well as in the soul. So next is the Gurukulam. So in the Gurukulam period, we have a three-staged Vasu, Rudra and Aditya. So Vasu period is education which is gained up to 24 years and Rudra is up to the age of 36 and Aditya is up to the age of 48. So the Gurukulam is basically based on the oral transformation of data. They are purely believed in the Vedic age. Their main intensity is to purify the Anma and to make a person a valuable person for the society. So next we have the three basic things in the education system of ancient, that is Sarvana is the knowledge which is gained through the oral hearing from the gurus. Manana is basically a knowledge which is gained from the Sharvana in the oral. You started to implement it. They started to practice it. They started to analyze and compare it. Nityasana is basically a knowledge which is going to solve the problem or which is going to evaluate or implement what they have learned and what they have analyzed. They'll make it to the third step. They started to execute. So Sarvana is hearing through oral talks and lectures. So Manana is analyzing the thing with the real objects. So Nityasana is basically executing it. So for example, if I hear that a fire will burn our hands, I started to, in the Sarvana, I hear that the fire will burn our hand. In the Manana, I will have a gland on fire and hand. I'll observe that this is fire and this is, I can able to relate it and I can able to compare it. This is the fire and this is our hand. So in the Nityasana, I can able to realize that this fire will burn our hand through a simple test and I'll make it to understand it by executing it. So next, so in the Asian institution, we have a lot of institution from the Asian period, that is Taxila, Nalandana, Vallabi. So these are the basic and these are the institutions which is started in the Asian period. Most of the institutions are basically based on the Buddhism and Jainism. They practice the Buddhism and Jainism, and some as focused on Hinduism as a teaching methodology and teaching concept. Overall, we have about 14 the 14 to 13 to 14 institution till now it is alive. So next, evaluation of higher education and research in the post-independent India. So in the independent India in 1945, through Sagar Committee, we have achieved the higher technical institutions, which has formed the basis on four regions of India. So we are next to the Mas Massachusetts Institute of Technology. We have the five other technologies as a continuation of it in Kanpur, Bombay, Kharagpur, and Madras and Delhi. As All India Council for Technical Education was set up in 1945. So here I have given you the list of committees and the amendment passed and what is the amendment and how they passed the amendment, and we have a Nehruvian period that is from 1947 to 1964 and Indira Gandhi period from 1964. So they have passed a lot of amendment to increase the growth of higher education, and they provided the maximum. We have a question in the Kothari Commission in the last year. So Kothari Commission is basically they submitted the national policy on education in 1968. So they have developed the higher education into the next level. So next, here is the 5-year plan. You may have a plan question in your examination, that is what is the 5-year plan from 1951 to 1956. So this has developed the higher education and it has provided the many technical institutions in 1956 to 1961. There is a huge development in the technical and professional institutions. So the rural people get educated. In the third plan, there is a technical people ratios. So UGC has increased the universities and colleges, and they have provided the facility through libraries and infrastructures. In the fourth plan, it has strengthened the it has made the strength and effective teachers and library for the institutions, and it has increased to the 88%. In the fifth plan, it has started the union colleges and it has given the post graduation degree courses also. It also provided the semester and orientation programs. In the sixth, they have a less period of growth. They have the regulation in the admission. They have certain rules and regulation for the admission of the candidate. It is a big contribution. So next, in the seventh plan, it is the Indira Gandhi National Open Institution was established for the people from the rural areas. So eighth, we have a Inflicknet, that is a library on the basis of online basis. In the ninth one, we have a 10 autonomous colleges for eligible college to provide their own syllabus and the curriculums. So in the 10th plan, we have a 18 to 23 years group from the present 6% to 10%. We have increased it. So in the 11th plan, we have a central university. We have increased the number in the central universities, colleges, and all the other educational, higher educational institution has been increased a lot. In the 12th plan, we have a Rashtriya Uttara Shiksha Abhiman for the girls, children, and everyone to have their educations. So next. So in the current scenario, I have given you the count of universities. In 1915, we have only 20 universities. Currently, we have 1993 universities and we have 50 centralized universities. In the 43 universities are under MHRD and 409 state universities and 349 state private universities and 129 deemed to be a university. So deemed university is a deemed to be university. So 95 institution of national importance. The number of colleges currently now is 41,901 colleges are currently till March 31st. So next, I have given you the main universities, the central universities, state university, private university is a establishment from state as well as from the government through a trust or organization. Deemed university, as I said earlier, it is deemed to be a university, but it can't able to provide a affiliation to other colleges. So institution of national importance is basically a parliament and declared institution for higher education. So it is under the Legislative Act. So next, we have a higher education institution on this basis. So as I said earlier, central, state, private, deemed, and national university. So you have a question that what the deemed university can able to provide and what the central university able to provide. So central universities cannot have an affiliation colleges, but they can provide a degree on the selected institutions. So state universities can provide a degree for the affiliated colleges, but they can't able to provide affiliation. So and as they come for the private, so private are not legally permitted to establish affiliate colleges. So the private institutions, the universities cannot be able to provide the affiliated colleges, but the deemed university, as I said earlier, they are not they don't have affiliation colleges under them. So national importance is the development of higher education, which is under the MHRD for technical educations. So next, as I said earlier, we have three important institution dealings, that is UGC, NCERT, and IUCS. So UGC is basically a collaboration, and it is for the and it usually advises in the higher education for the state and the central government. So national NCERT is for school, for setting a central and state government in the academic school sectors. So IUCS is for the establishment for research and for providing support for the universities and organizations. So here, what is the objectives of setting up a inter-university state? The university which is unable to have a proper infrastructure, they will help us to the IUCS will help us to develop the infrastructure by providing the research, by providing the faculty, they're providing the lab facility, everything. We have a 6 inter-university centers functioning now. I have given you the list. You just go through it. It is inter-university. Every university is from Delhi, Pune, Indore, Ahmedabad, New Delhi, Bangalore, and Kakinada. Okay. So next, the Council for the Higher Education and Research. So here we have the 5 higher education research institutions. So which was established first as the social science. For this social science research is basically for research oriented works on social science area and subject. It is established in 1969. So philosophical research is established in 1937 for philosophical researchers for languages and literatures. So historical is for archaeologists, and for historical Indian science and philosophical researchers. So the next one is historical researchers, and the fifth one is the rural institutions, that is, and rural areas for the development of research works. So next we have our Oriental conventional, non-conventional learning programs. So here we have our 16 universities for the Oriental process, and we are both the Oriental is basically based on the knowledge which is gained through oral transmission of knowledge from the guru to the learners. So these oral, we have a 16 oral libraries for libraries which basically based on Sanskrit. They have a data and they have a manuscript for the Sanskrit and Prakrit. So here we have given you the 16 libraries in the India for providing the manuscript in Sanskrit. So next is the conventional learning. So conventional learning is basically face-to-face learning, what we are getting through the regular education. The teachers will teach us. It is a teacher-centric. There is no improvement. They'll learn according for their examination. They prepare the question. They learn according to the syllabus and pattern. They have a proper time schedule. They'll write through the examination. There is should be a regular attendance. They should be connected within a time limit and should be in a prescribed manner and prescribed campus. So there is no improvement of memorized capacity for the students. So non-conventional is basically a good learning methodology which is carried out after their educational hours, which is in the evening classes or Sunday classes, and these will support the poor people to get knowledges. It is not it is cost effective and no fixed curriculum for them. They can learn anything, anytime, anywhere else, as it is in the online classes. It is basically learner oriented and this is very helpful for the unemployed youth, school dropouts, women's girls. We are not able to travel for a long time for their education. So next is the professional, technical and skill based courses. Our curriculum is basically based on 10 plus 2 plus 3 for the higher education. So normal education system is basically from 10 plus 2 UG, PG, research and PhD, and that's all. As we come for the professional courses like engineering, medical and everything is professional courses like BC and everything are professional courses, and skill based courses. We have that technical courses which are oriented and connected with the employing opportunities. So vocational group is after completing their 10, they'll go for IT and they'll go for a training and then join for an employment or a job oriented or industry oriented programs. So here we have the 14 councils for various industries. That may be in the technical, for teachers, for agriculture, for nurses, for rehabilitation, for education, for medical and everything have a separate council and separate organizations. I have given you the list. It is 14 organizations. So on the value on the educational environmental education. So the education should be honest and should be a trustworthy one. So there should be a clear concept on the education. It should once I'm getting an education, the value of education should provide a honesty, trust and respect on the other people. It should be a diversity. There may be a person from various areas. They should able to learn everything from on the basis of their knowledge what they gained. So next, policies, governance and administration. So the policies and government is a constitution of institution of India is basically has 448 articles and 25 parts and 12, but after the amendment it has been reduced to 395 articles and 22 parts and 8 schedules on the time of commitment. So Indian Constitution was signed by chaired by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and it is signed by Dr. Rajendra Prasad in November 26, 1949. So it was come to an act in 1950. So next we are going to see our institution is called a beautiful patchwork. Our constitutional rights, which has been brought out or get from many countries who have their constitutional rights and who already contributed their constitutional rights. So here I have given you some borrowed constitution rights from other countries. Fundamental rights we have got from the USA. Parliamentary rights we have got from UK, and the directive principles of state policies we have got from Ireland. We have borrowed many things, and we make our um, amendment and articles as a patchwork. So here we have the 6 fundamental rights: right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, so freedom of religion, cultural rights, a right to constitutional remedies. So first thing is rights to equality. So there should be a equal law for everyone. So the law should be equal for the all the caste and all the people. There should not be a religious based or the caste based or the sex based on the place of birth and anything. Law should be equal to for everyone in any time. So next is the right to freedom. So this is we should have the right to speak what we think about a problem or about a issue. We should have the right to say our ideology or a suggestion regarding a problem or an issue. There should not be any avoidance. There should be a right for us to move anywhere from one place to another, where any state within a country, then we can able to work anywhere else. This is the right to freedom. And next, we have the right against exploitation. So the traffic rules and traffic in the human beings and labor force. If we are going to take a person out of work, we should have a proper issue of issue of order before 3 months, and we should not employ a child below 13 years for the job. So next is the right to freedom. of religion. So here we have the right to freedom for religion. So everyone is individual and unique. They can able to practice their own religion. They can able to practice their own cultural values and religious value. They should have the right to practice their uh, god or god or their knowledges. So everyone should be equal and everyone should have their own belief on knowledges and religious impacts. So next, cultural and educational rights. So education rights is basically the rights which is established. The education is for all the people. It is not for a minority or majority people. The education should have been given to all the peoples all the times. So there should not be any inequality in the gaining of knowledges. So everyone should learn, everyone should gain the knowledges through the all the aspects of their needs. So next, rights to constitutional remedies. As the article says that the right and the judgment should be equal. If there is a no law or justice in the lower court, they can able to move for the higher courts. So they should be able to move according to their needs. So the law, if it is not clear or the judgment which is not provided for them clearly in the lower court, they can appeal for the higher courts. So rights. So what is right? So as I said earlier, so right is a written order issued by the Supreme Court. We should follow and we should have to know what we have to do, and it is a standard order everyone should follow. So here is habeas corpus is basically an order, written order. Before we are going to arrest a person, when it is passed, we can able to arrest the person and we can able to immediately or order in a court or in front of a judge before they are getting relieved of. So seto then second one is quo warranto. Quo warranto is a precaution before we are going to get we are going to arrest a person. Before going to get arrested, we automatically get a warrant for arresting a person. So the quo warranto is a legal action required for arresting a person in an office or in a franchise or in an institution or an organization. So next one is man mandamus. So mandamus is nothing but it's a judicial right as commented as that the order which is issued in the lower court is automatically taken, or they have to follow the order which is passed from the higher court is sent to the lower court. They have to follow the command what they have got from the higher court. It is just like if we have a command from our parents, we automatically follow without any restriction. So we have to follow the order without any restriction or conditions which is issued from the Supreme Court. So it's prohibition. So we should not use or we should not produce a product which is not authorized by the government to provide or produce. So we should be able to protect or produce a product which is legally approved by the government. So next thing is certiorari. Certiorari. Certiorari is a right of order that is by a higher court which wanted to have a review of the judgment. If a Supreme Court wanted to take a case from the lower court, if it feels that the judgment provided by the lower court is not a real judgment, then it automatically takes a case for the higher court without any intimations. Next, we have the fundamental duties. We have 11 fundamental duties. As I said earlier, we should not affect the organisms, we should not affect the environment, we should not affect the development of the country, we should not disrespect the national flag, national animal or national freedom peoples. We should not disobey, we should not disrespect the national anthems. So next, the president. So president of India is the major person. He is elected by both the houses of parliament. The elected members may be from the state legislative assembly. So we have given the eligibility. He should be a citizen of India. He should have 35 years and he is eligible for the Lok Sabha. And next, here I have given you some powers of the president. So he can able to declare emergency power at any time in the pandemic period. He can able to stop a government and he can able to make it into a governor 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 ruling state. So he can able to make stop the military and he can able to stop the uh, persons from convicted from the crime, and he can able to stop the death or the hanging of the persons. So next is, I have given you the power of president. He can have the power in the executive. He can able to appoint a prime minister, minister, or the governors of the state, and he can able to uh, suspend any person at any time. He can be nominated by the 12 members in the Rajya Sabha, and he can able to provide a budget issues at any cost. He can have a diplomatic power. He can appoint or disappoint or he can relieve any person at any time. So he has the judicial power. He can able to stop the death of hanging of a person in any situations. So the prime minister is the person who is elected from the member of either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. So he has the certain principles and he is the advisor of the prime president. So next thing is the functions of the prime minister. The functions of the prime minister can be, he can elect the head of the country. He is the elected head of the country. He is the leader of the majority party, and he can advise the president on legal aspects in the appointment of a person. He can select a council of member. He can expand or demand the resignation of resignations. So next, the union legislative. Here we have the council of states and the houses of people. So in the Rajya Sabha we have 250 members and 12 nominated and 238 are representative of the state and union territories. So in the Lok Sabha we have 552 members and 530 members are not more than respective of the state. So we have two nominated. We should not have more than two nominated Anglo Indians in the government in the Lok Sabha, and not more than 20 members should be from the union territories. So next we, as I said earlier, it is the time period for Lok Sabha is 5 years and for Rajya Sabha is 6 years. So the qualification, the salary and everything. And next we have our state. So in the state we have the minister, secretary, additional secretary and the joint secretaries. It is a hierarchical order of the issuing of orders for to reach the people. So next is the Supreme Court. So Supreme Court we have the High Court, Metropolitan Court and District Courts. There may be Civil Court, Criminal Court or court. And if you are not satisfied with the district court, you can move on to the state court. And after, if you are not satisfied with the state, then you can move for the High Court, and then you can move High Court. We have High Court in each state, and then we'll move on to the, if you not get the justice, then you can able to move on to the Supreme Court. So next we have given you the judiciary powers for the Supreme Court and High Court. Here they attaining the age of 65 years, the judge can, he can be a Supreme Court, and here there is age restriction is 62 years. the only ground for people. He can able to take any cases from the higher court if he feels it is not up to the reality. If he is not satisfied with the judgment, he can able to take the case at any point from the lower courts. So next, Supreme Court, as I said earlier, the Supreme Court can have the cases from any lower courts. The High Court can have the cases from any lower courts. It has the fundamental rights and it can deals with all the state jurisdictions. So District Court is for district level and subordinate cases for civil and criminal natures. So next, we have some political terms here. The first one is vote on account. So vote on account is passed without a discussion, pending final approval by the parliament if the money is urgently required. So they automatically pass the order or discussion if there is an urgency of amount is called as vote on demand. So next is lame duck government. And we know that the government has nothing to do with, they had not, they, if everyone loses the confidence on the government but they don't have a chance to get out the government, um, they just wanted to run the government for a certain period until they get change over in the government. So that government is called as lambda government. The lambda government is simply the government which is work for nothing, and if you wanted to remove the government, we can't able to remove the government until the undertaking of other government, other parties. So left party is a radical political ideology party. They will adopt the same principle as the ruling party. Right parties are defined as the uh, parties which is left party is parties which they have the different opinion, different idea from the ruling party or other parties. Right parties are they have the same ideologies and um, categories as that in the ruling party or other party. The parties which have the similar ideologies are called right parties. The parties which have different ideologies are called left parties. Centralized party will have both the ideologies of right party and left party. So cut motion is annual budget, which is the effect of the annual budget. It is insufficient, is called as a cut motion. So zero hour. So zero hour is in the period of emergency there can be an immediate assembly in the parliamentary without any prior notices. So stat questions are those answer to which given orally is called stat question by the ministers. So unstat questions are a written answer for the questions by the parliament by the ministers. So next is clotin as a motion set if passed without any discussion on the parliament in the view of urgency. A person or a minister who moves away from the parliament without any discussion or a permission. Filibuster is a person makes a long speech before voting is given to take place. So he'll talk along before the vote goes on. So WISP. So WISP is a person who regulates the presence and conduct the members of a particular political party in the parliament. So thank you everyone. We have completed today's two sessions successfully, I think so. If you have any doubt, you just contact to me the number what I have provided to you. Thank you so much everyone. We will get back to you in the next session tomorrow. Thank you everyone. Bye.